On February 22nd, 2026, just days ago, the Mexican army did something nobody had managed to do in over a decade. They killed El Mencho, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, the most wanted man in Mexico, the man the US government had a $15 million bounty on, the founder and supreme leader of the most powerful cartel in the world, right now the CJNG. Within hours, roadblocks appeared across 20 Mexican states. Trucks were set on fire. The cartel was sending a message. We are still here. But here's what nobody is talking about right now. What actually happens inside that organization? What does life look like at each level? From the kid recruited off the streets of Jalisco, to the generals commanding drone strikes against the Mexican army. Today, we climb the ladder rank by rank inside the most feared cartel on the planet. Your life, as every rank in the CJNG. Rank 1, the lookout. Halcon. You are 15 years old. You live in a small town in Jalisco, Michoacan, or Colima states where the CJNG has deep roots and deep pockets. Your family has nothing. Your school has no future to offer you. And one day, an older kid from the neighborhood offers you 200 pesos a day, about $10, to sit on a corner and send a WhatsApp message if you see a police car. That's it. That's your job. You are a halcon, a hawk, a lookout. The CJNG uses thousands of halcones across their territory. Kids, teenagers, even elderly people sitting outside their homes. The cartel pays them small amounts, sometimes in food, sometimes in cash, to be their eyes on every street. You don't know who you're working for. You don't ask. You just watch and report. But within a few weeks, and you start noticing things. The way certain men walk, the cars that stop and go, the packages, the respect that people show when specific individuals pass by. And one day, someone notices you. Notices that you're reliable, that you don't talk, that you're smart. That's when everything changes. Rank 2, the foot soldier. Sicario, you've been recruited, properly this time. The CJNG doesn't just hand you a gun and wish you luck. In 2025, investigators discovered a training camp called the Izaguirre Ranch in Jalisco. Inside, they found the remains of hundreds of cartel recruits. Because the CJNG trains its soldiers hard. As a sicario, a foot soldier, you go through physical training, weapons handling, and tactical drills. You learn to move in formation. You learn to set up roadblocks. You learn to operate drones loaded with grenades. This isn't a street gang. The CJNG has been described by the US military as a paramilitary organization, one of the most militarized criminal groups ever seen in the Western Hemisphere. Your pay jumps to around 5,000 to 10,000 pesos a week, roughly $250 to $500. Cash, untaxed. More than most legitimate jobs in rural Mexico pay in a month. But there's a catch. You are now in. Completely. There is no resignation letter, no 2 weeks' notice. The only way out is in a body bag or a prison cell. You know this. Everyone knows this. But you're 17 years old and you've never had this much money in your life. Rank 3. The drug runner, burriero. The CJNG's primary product isn't cocaine. It isn't heroin. It isn't even methamphetamine, although they produce enormous quantities of all three. Their main weapon against America right now is fentanyl. The USDEA has called CJNG the #1 supplier of illicit fentanyl to the United States, a substance so powerful that 2 milligrams barely visible to the naked eye is a lethal dose. And the CJNG manufactures it by the ton. As a burriero, a runner, your job is the last mile. You carry product across borders, through checkpoints, tucked inside cars, hidden in fruit shipments, strapped to your body. The risk is enormous. If you're caught, you're looking at a decade in a US federal prison. but the pay for a single successful run can be 50,000 pesos or more, several months of normal wages in one night. You also move cash the other way back into Mexico, because for every dollar of fentanyl sold in the US, billions of dollars flow back south to fund the cartel's operations, weapons, and bribes. You never see the full picture. You're one small piece of a global supply chain that stretches from chemical manufacturers in China, through Mexico's labs, across the US border, and into the veins of people in cities you'll never visit. Rank 4. The Plaza Commander, Plaza Boss. You now control a plaza, a defined territory. A city, a port, a stretch of highway. This is your kingdom. And in the CJNG, a plaza is everything. Because whoever controls the plaza controls the revenue. Every drug shipment that passes through pays a tax. Every business in your territory pays a quota, a monthly fee for protection. Avocado farms, gas stations, construction companies, all of them pay. In states like Michoacán and Jalisco, the CJNG has taken over entire industries. They control avocado exports worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They steal oil directly from government pipelines. They run extortion rackets so sophisticated that they have dedicated accountants tracking payments. As a plaza boss, you might be managing $5 to $15 million in monthly revenue flowing through your territory. You also have real power over people's lives. You resolve disputes. You give permission for businesses to operate. In some areas, the CJNG acts as the government, the real government, providing order, employment, and protection in places the Mexican state has abandoned. Your relationship with local police? Complicated. Some are on your payroll, others are enemies. You always know which is which. Rank 5. The Special Forces Commander. Grupo Elite. This is where the CJNG truly separates itself from every other criminal organization in the world. The Grupo Elite. The cartel's military wing. A force so heavily armed, so tactically trained, and so ruthless that the Mexican army has described engagements with them as genuine military combat operations. They use armored vehicles, drones equipped with explosives, Barrett .50 caliber sniper rifles, rocket launchers. They have shot down a military helicopter. They have laid siege to entire cities. In 2015, CJNG fighters ambushed a Mexican federal police convoy, killing 15 officers in a single assault. In 2020, they carried out a brazen assassination attempt on Mexico City's chief of police in broad daylight in the capital. As a Grupo Elite commander, you are not a criminal in the traditional sense. You are a military officer in a private army. You plan operations. You coordinate intelligence. You command dozens of highly trained fighters. The CJNG even has a dedicated drone unit, the Operadores Droneros, which you work with to conduct surveillance, reconnaissance, and aerial strikes against rivals and law enforcement. You are compensated accordingly. We're talking hundreds of thousands of pesos monthly, plus vehicles, housing, and security for your family. But you are also the most hunted person in the organization, because you are the face of the CJNG's violence. And everyone, the government, the DEA, rival cartels, wants you dead or behind bars. Rank 6, the money network, Los Queenies. All that money, billions from fentanyl, cocaine, extortion, oil theft, avocados, has to go somewhere. And that's where Los Queenies come in. Los Queenies is the financial arm of the CJNG. It was founded by the brothers of El Mencho's wife, Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia. Family business are taken to a criminal extreme. Their job is to take the CJNG's dirty billions and turn them into clean money. Real estate in Guadalajara, Puerto Vallarta, and Cancun. Shell companies in Panama and the Cayman Islands. Car washes, restaurants, construction firms with government contracts. The scale is staggering. When El Mencho's son, El Menchito, was sentenced in the US in 2025, The court ordered the forfeiture of over $6 billion in drug trafficking proceeds. $6 billion from one man. At this level, you live an almost entirely legitimate life on paper. Business meetings, bank accounts, property portfolios. You wear suits and attend charity events. But you are also one of the most wanted people on the planet. The US Treasury's OFAC sanctions list, Interpol notices, DEA indictments. Every transaction you make is potentially under surveillance. Los Queenies have been systematically dismantled over the years, multiple members arrested, extradited, sentenced to decades in US federal prison, including El Mencho's own brothers-in-law. The money is extraordinary. The risk of spending the rest of your life in a US maximum security prison is very, very real. Rank 7. The regional boss, Leader Regional. The CJNG controls territory across 27 of Mexico's 32 states. To manage this empire, El Mencho relied on a small number of trusted regional bosses, men who oversaw entire zones of the country. People like Ricardo Ruiz Velasco, known as El Doble R, or Odias Flores Silva El Jardinero, the gardener, or Hugo Mendoza Gaitan El Sapo, the toad. These are the men now fighting to succeed El Mencho following his death this week. As a regional boss, you manage dozens of plaza commanders, hundreds of sicarios, and supply chains worth hundreds of millions of dollars annually. You are the CEO of a massive criminal enterprise spanning multiple states, with connections reaching into law enforcement, government, and the military. The CJNG uses a franchise model. Smaller local cartels pledge loyalty and pay a percentage of their revenue in exchange for protection, supply, and the use of the CJNG brand. Managing these relationships is a full-time diplomatic job on top of everything else. You live extremely well. Private jets, multiple properties, a security detail that rivals that of a head of state. But in the wake of El Mencho's death, you are now in the most dangerous position of your life. And because the power vacuum at the top means that every one of your rivals, both inside the cartel and out, is watching your next move very, very carefully. Rank 8. El Mencho, the founder Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, born in poverty in Michoacán in 1966, dropped out of school, grew avocados, crossed the border illegally into the US as a teenager, convicted in California in 1994 for heroin trafficking, served 3 years in an American prison, deported back to Mexico, became a police officer in Jalisco, then went back to crime, rose through the Milenio cartel, then the Sinaloa cartel, then broke away to form his own empire. For 15 years, El Mencho built the CJNG into the most powerful cartel in Mexico, arguably in the world. Under his leadership, the organization expanded across 27 states. It built a multinational drug trafficking network reaching 40 countries and generated billions of dollars annually. He shot down army helicopters. He blockaded highways. He assassinated politicians and judges. He turned the CJNG into something that the United States government, in February 2025, officially designated as a foreign terrorist organization. And then, on February 22nd, 2026, the Mexican army found him in Jalisco and killed him. Within hours, the cartel retaliated with coordinated attacks across 20 states. Because even in death, El Mencho commanded loyalty. The question everyone in Mexico and Washington is asking tonight is who comes next, and whether the CJNG, without its founder, will hold together or tear itself apart in a war for succession that could be the bloodiest chapter yet. Jar outro, from a 15-year-old lookout on a plastic chair in Jalisco to the most wanted man in the Western Hemisphere. The CJNG isn't just a cartel, it's a state within a state, an army, a financial empire, a system that has survived the death of its founder, because it was built to survive. What happens next in Mexico will shape the drug war, the fentanyl crisis, and the security of an entire continent. We'll be watching, rank after rank. If you want to understand how the world's most dangerous organizations actually work, subscribe. Because next week we're climbing inside the Sinaloa cartel, El Mencho's oldest rival, now fighting its own internal war. See you there.